Hello, my friends. Welcome to the show. This is the place where we share ideas and strategies on how to advance in your life, business, and career by using the knowledge and skills you already have. I believe that the true power to overcome obstacles and rise above our adversity is drawn from within ourselves. Developing belief in self and building self-confidence is an absolute must for every person who wants to live an impactful life. I'm your host, Isaac Wambua, and I'm honored to be your coach today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show, Step Into Greatness. My name is Isaac, and I'm glad to be your host today. And today I have a guest here, a friend of mine, who is called Joe Templin, and I believe Joe is short form for Joseph, and he's going to tell us his story. So, Joe, welcome to the show.
Isaac, thank you. Looking forward to helping your listeners out today.
Yeah, fantastic. So, in our show, we talk about stepping into greatness. And what we believe is that every single person out there has a potential. They can grow, they can develop, they can become who they want to become, they can do the things that they want to do, and they can potentially have the things that they want to have. So that's usually really the premise of our show. And we bring entrepreneurs, leaders, business owners, and people who want to make a difference in the world to come and share their stories. And today, really, we are fortunate to have Joe on the show. He has written a book called Everyday Excellence right there, and we'll be digging deeper into this particular book. So to start with, Joe, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us your story, who you are and how you got to be where you are today.
Okay, and I'll try and truncate this as much as possible. I grew up in upstate New York, a rural community, and was 6 kids. My mom was a former nun. My dad was former Army. Um, I started college at 13 because my parents said 12 was too young.
Oh, wow.
I got my physics degree. I was working for the Department of Defense due to a family tragedy. I then went into finance and financial planning, did that for a while. Um, I'm also a martial artist. I'm a former international champion. And those couple of components led me to study psychology, specifically performance and sales psychology, which led into a whole bunch of other arenas. Went out, founded my own consulting firm roughly 15 years ago, and I work with individuals and organizations on how to unlock their excellence. It basically, what I do is I help people. I help people and organizations clarify and achieve their goals and dreams in alignment with their feelings and philosophies. So everything that I do is aligned with helping other people bring out their excellence or step towards their own greatness, as it were. And so I am a polymath in that my background encompasses everything from taxation to high energy physics, economics, martial arts, music. So I am very broad and deep, and essentially I'm a human Swiss Army knife, and I draw from all those different influences to work with individuals to help them define what they want to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
put together the plans to do so, and then make sure that they have the discipline, motivation, and will set ultimately to achieve what it is that they're working towards.
Yeah, you're blowing my mind because as you are speaking right now, it's evident that you are very multifaceted, from psychology to martial arts to having your own business, and now helping people to have the discipline and being able to follow through and even the will to get the results that they want. So thank you for doing that. So how did you become that kind of a person? Because, and the reason I'm asking is that I've learned that for you to be able to do some things, even everything that you do, you have to become a certain kind of a person. So you become that person, you do those things, and then you can have the things that you want. Obviously, you are very successful. How did you become the kind of a person that you are today? Is it just by environment? Did you get taught? walk us through that journey briefly.
So there's a couple of good components. One thing is I had really good parents
Hmm.
and a good environment to grow up in. And Orville Wright said that if you want to become a success in America, be born to great parents in rural Ohio.
Hmm.
I was born in rural New York, but still, I had the great parents, the great influence. We had expectations, we had discipline, but we also had support.
Mm.
And growing up out in the hinterlands, we didn't have all the distractions. I mean, we still didn't have cable TV. My hometown didn't get a traffic light until after I was out of grad school. And
Mm.
when I was 10 years old, my mom was an educator. I told her I wanted to learn everything there was to learn.
Mm.
And so she's like, well, you better get to work, kid. So she encouraged this. She always bought into the Mark Twain idea of never let school interfere with your education.
Mm.
So she encouraged me to be a polymath and to keep learning. And then a little bit later on, I was severely, severely asthmatic as a kid. And that's why I got good old Teddy Roosevelt up there as my influence, because
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt was a severely asthmatic child.
Hmm.
And his father said, you've got the brains, TR, but not the body. So his doctor actually prescribed whiskey and cigars.
Oh.
Mine didn't prescribe that, obviously. But when I was 10 years old, I actually died right there on the table, the glowing light flowing on up and everything. So when I came on back, I was slightly motivated. So
Mm.
my friends joke that I burned the candle at both ends and at the middle with a flamethrower,
Mm.
because we all have only 86,400 seconds per day. I
Mm.
don't care if you're Elon Musk or somebody just getting out of college.
Mm.
We have the same allocation every day. And when the clock strikes midnight, that day's gone. You're not getting it back. So, how do you maximize those sands that you are given so that you can do incredible things for yourself, for your family, for your community, and ultimately live a more fulfilling, happier, and inspirational life for others?
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you. And you talked about kind of dying and then coming back, and you said you were slightly motivated. I guess you must have been very motivated. That's why you do what you do. And
I
it's
also really like challenge. I
y-
mean, one of my
yeah.
friends, or actually a lot of my friends, joke that is my big addiction is trying to push myself to the limits and see what people are humanly possible.
It's a good addiction, so long as it's not abused. I don't
Yeah,
think there's anything wrong with that, because we also live in a world where a lot of people subscribe to the concept of being average, and it's in the kind of in the disguise of, I don't want to push myself too much. I want to have a good balance. I want to make sure that I enjoy life, but basically they're just being lazy, according to me.
yeah. And what's happening is, especially in American society today, we have reached the point where convenience is so
Mm.
prevalent
Mhm.
that there's no need for people to even try in most ways.
Mm.
And people are getting awarded participation trophies and good enough and all that. And that really bothers me. As my mom taught me, if you have a gift and you're not using it, it's a sin.
Mm.
So, we won't go all religious, but I mean, if you've got a high conscientious factor, if we look at the big five personality traits, then you are driven. And it might not manifest itself in terms of work ethic for your occupation. It might show up in your avocation. It might show up in a talent within a particular art or what have you that really drives you.
Mhm.
But if you have this natural ability, why would you not try and see how far you can take it? I mean, I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler. I freely admit that is one of my greatest flaws. That's
Mhm.
why I don't say I'm a Renaissance man, because
Yeah.
of my lack of artistic ability.
Mhm.
But I've got a little bit of ability with words. I had some ability with mathematics.
Mm.
And so I took advantage of it. And I'm very stubborn.
Mhm.
I'm Irish. So that's one of the reasons why I run
Mm.
very long distances,
Mhm.
because I just have this capability. And that's one of the things where it comes down to ultimately not how strong your legs are or how good your lungs are. It
Mm.
comes down to how strong is your spirit. And so pushing your spirit, building that resolve, testing your will set over and over and over again is one of the things that gives you discipline and intestinal fortitude, essentially, and gives you resilience because life is going to happen. We all have parents that get older and get sick. We all have relationship issues. This thing called life will always throw a curveball at you with work or something else. So being able to push yourself when you don't have to makes it so that you have those reserves of strength to tap into when you do have to get through
Yeah.
things
And
that
and I and
inevitably
I
come.
love that. I mean, I wish I could just be taking notes, but we are recording this. Um, I like what you said, that pushing yourself when you don't have to, so that you can have those reserves when you have to. I mean, that's just beautiful, and it's powerful. Um, so obviously, we live in a country and a world where, again, people don't like to push themselves, and the goal is not to overwhelm them or stress them out. And I know you're in the business of helping people to develop themselves, to have that will set, as you're calling it, and have the discipline to do the things that they're supposed to do. I think, do you feel like things are getting better as you help these people? I mean, we are in that industry together. I do coaching and training and
Mm.
consulting, only that I do it on the business side. Do you feel like we are getting somewhere with this attempt to educate people, to show them that you can become all you want to become, you can exploit your potential, you can go after the things that you want, and you increase your chances of getting those things when you push yourself? Do you feel like we are making enough progress, or we are still mark timing?
I still think we've got a long way to go. And over the past 30 years, the proportion of the population which has that growth oriented mindset and that self-reliance of I'm going to succeed, that proportion has actually declined. And we've had more and more people with more of an entitled mentality. It might be because of government programs, it might be because of the participation trophies, could be great inflation in the colleges. There's a whole variety of factors, could be the snowplow parents, but the proportion of people who have that mindset of I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to bet on my capabilities and do my own thing as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or go to work for a startup company. The proportion of that people is smaller, but I think that they are more driven. There's less of a stigma against going out and doing your own thing, and there's more resources.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things is that they are more acceptable of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
because the old myth of the Ronin, the individual who, the lone wolf, who builds it all on their own. Maybe it's because of the increased complexity of technology. Maybe it's because of increased regulatory environment in a lot of ways. But people have realized that it's okay to ask for help, whether it's mental help or if it's coaching help, like you and I both draw from, to be able to help them. So we've got a long, long way to go, because the further back you go in US history, the more and more proportion that you saw of self-reliance, whether it was agrarian or people as trades individuals or forming their own businesses or their own law or doctor practice. So we had a much greater proportion and greater risk back then. If we can take some of that spirit from the 1780s, 1790s, and bring it forward to today with the resources and the mindset
Mm-hmm.
and acceptance where we are today, that would be an interesting combination, because then we could really create some great things going forward.
Have you ever met someone that puts you at ease from the time you say hello? That's been my experience with Isaac since the first time we met. As a speaker, he holds your interest and provides pertinent information on the topic he's speaking about. He's an excellent connector and business relationship builder. That was the testimonial of Debbie Davis, Business Development Manager at Douglas Freeman CPA LLC. And it's not the only one. Isaac has a gift for powerfully impacting businesses one person at a time. Be sure to check out what else Isaac can do for you and for your company. Come to dynamomethods.com. Now, Let's get back to the rest of the show.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I think people are being more open to asking for help, and I'm not sure why, but that's a good thing. It's a good sign. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in Africa, and I remember growing up being told that you have to be strong, you have to learn how to kind of fend for yourself, find your own solutions. And then I went to school where I was not supposed to share answers with anybody. If I'm good at math, which I was, and I get I do the calculations and I get the answer before everyone else, I was supposed to hide my answer, even if someone is sitting next to me. And so we didn't learn how to collaborate with other people. But
Right.
now, where the world is going, we are trying to preach that collaboration. So there's still a disconnect between how we've been conditioned and what we're being told right now. And that's why even companies are struggling to get people to work together as teams. There are people who believe in that individualistic kind of operational mindset. But I think people are responding more and more to that. I just hope we could have a good balance between really working hard and collaborating, because you can imagine if you really push yourself to the limits, testing the limits like you said, and we collaborate, and I'm doing the same thing, you can imagine how much we can accomplish for ourselves, for our
Right.
families, for the businesses that we are running, and of course for the world. So
And people tend to find their tribe,
mhm,
people who have a drive level similar to themselves.
mhm,
So people will stratify themselves
mhm,
just naturally. So people who like to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and watch The Bachelor, they're going to find each other.
mhm,
And we might be able to drag them up a little bit, but
mhm,
that's going to take a lot of effort. And
mhm,
then there's individuals like us who it's like, ooh, that's difficult. I'm going to go do that
mhm,
because it is difficult, or that's interesting, or I can be better. And so this is why you see running groups. This is
mhm,
why you see study groups. This is
mhm,
why you see writing groups. I mean, I mention regularly how J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were in a writing group together, and they would meet regularly and push each other. But
mhm,
there's another one that's out there right now that people aren't necessarily aware of. Mark Manson,
mhm,
Ryan Holiday,
mhm.
Gary Vaynerchuk,
Mm.
and James Clear are in a writing group together.
What?
Yes. And they get together and they push each other and they appear on each other's podcasts and ask each other questions and
Wow.
hold each other accountable. So, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most
Mm.
time with.
Mhm,
Imagine being able to choose people with this level drive and excellence
mm,
to hang out with. I mean, no slackers in that group,
mm.
and they all have their own very different perspective. They
Yeah.
all have their own way. They're focused on different areas, but excellence breeds excellence. The old
Mhm,
saying, iron sharpens iron.
mhm,
So this is the reason why people who want to succeed
mm,
need to find others who have the same sort of drive, even if it's in a different arena,
mm,
and hold each other accountable and brainstorm. And some days one of them's probably having a bad day and the other guys kick his butt and hold them up. And when there's a success, they all celebrate it. So this goes back to I mentioned some of the early stuff in the United States. uh, Ben Franklin, even before it was the United States,
mm,
founded this group in Philadelphia called the Junta, which was other young business and tradesmen
mm,
who were there to help each other become accountable and help serve their community to make it better for all of them.
mm. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, here's a question I have for you. Obviously, you are very successful and you're great at what you do. You mentioned to me before we got into this recording that you like to run. I would like to talk a little bit about that. So there's something called
Well, I don't like to run. Okay, let's actually put
Okay,
this
you
out there.
don't like to
I
run.
run
You just
very
run.
long distances, but I actually hate running. Not, and I do it because it makes me better. I did it to cross
Because,
train for my martial arts, but
yeah.
I do it because of all the benefits from it. And I used to feel bad about saying I hate running, especially like when I was doing Ragnar's and doing 2,000-3,000 miles a year total. But I heard the ultra runner David Goggins,
Yes.
who's
Hmm.
done
He's a
Badwater
beast.
135 and all
Oh yeah.
these other crazy things,
Mm.
and he admits that he hates running, so I don't feel quite so bad about it then.
Okay, so yeah, you hate running, but you do it anyway.
Yep.
Which you told me about run the year. You do that, and so I know you said you see that you get the benefits that you get from running, but I'm just curious, what else really gets drives you? And now that you hate doing it, what gets you doing it over and over again? Because most of the people, when they hate something, they don't do it.
Partially it's the social aspect.
Mm.
So like I've got a running team that I belong to. We get together a couple of times a year. We sit in a van and do what's called a Ragnar, which is a 200-mile team relay race. You're each doing 3 legs, 16, 18 miles a piece. And so you get some Stockholm syndrome going on from being in the van with each other. There's all these stories like when Becky killed the van a couple of years ago, and when we got flooded out, and when the course was literally destroyed during one race. So these are things that you can talk about forever. Later this year, I'm doing a race called the Hamster Wheel, which is a 4-mile loop, and you just go around and around and around for
Wow.
24 hours. I'm going to do that with
24
my
hours.
24 hours. I'm going to do that with my 15-year-old son. So I'll do
Wow.
3 loops, then he'll do a loop. And I'll do 3 loops, and then he'll do a loop. And you hang out at a tent, you eat there, you sleep a little bit when you can. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be very boring, especially like the 15th time that you're seeing the
Yeah,
same
because
tree.
it's a loop seeing the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing.
whoop, whoop, whoop. That's why it's called the hamster wheel. But we're going to get these cool belt buckles with zombie hamsters, which he's going to show off. We're going to have this bonding event that, when I'm 90 years old, he's going to be telling his grandchildren about this cool race that great granda and he did long, long ago. And so it creates these memories in addition to the physical side effects of it. And beyond the physical side effects, there's a lot of emotional and mental ones. So last summer I was getting ready to train. I was training for an ultra, and it was a long day. So like I ran out in the morning, did my 6 or 7 miles or whatever it was, worked my 14-hour day, came on home, and I'm tired. I don't want to run. Well, I got to run. I got to do another 5. All right, I'll just run on the treadmill because it's going to rain. Nope, I'm going to go outside. The rain's coming. It's going to suck. I'm going to hate it, but it's going to make me better. And literally, that was my thought process. So I go and run outside, and within a mile, the sky opens up, and I'm getting the squishy shoes. And the wind's blowing, and it's nasty and all that. And I powered on through, wind right in my face. And I couldn't have music because of the rain and all that. And I get back, I go on, and I take my shower, and the hot water's come on me. I'm like, that was worth it. So
Wow.
being able to have that deferred gratification, willing to go through that uncomfortableness for 45 minutes, an hour, for that couple of minutes of just sheer pleasure. That beer that I had afterwards was the best beer of the month because I had earned it. So there's an old saying that I heard Matthew McConaughey quote: earn your Saturday nights, work your butt off, and then that reward, since you have sacrificed for it, is so much sweeter than if it's just handed to you.
Yeah, that's very true. So you have a book that you've written. It's called Everyday Excellence. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So actually, it's written as a daily reader. So I call it a multivitamin for life. So you should take it every single day. And we all have these multiple parameters in our life: our physical health, our mental health, our relationships, our occupation, our communication skills. And what it's designed to do is to assist on multiple fronts every single day. And it's sort of like the Oracle of Delphi, in that the reader is going to take from it that particular day what they need, what they're looking for. And the structure is that there's a quote from somebody, whether it's Muhammad Ali or Oprah Winfrey or Einstein or Epictetus, then there's discussion around it, but then there's an action item to help crystallize it. Because all too many of the daily readers are, you read stuff and it's like, oh, that's wonderful, that's great, but there's no translation to action. And it is that doing that then makes those habits or the ideas come to fruition. So, for example, one of the days I talk about how important a smile is. And I go into the biochemistry of what happens to your body when you smile. Decreases your cortisol, which reduces your stress and the inflammation in your body. So you actually become slightly younger when you smile. It increases the blood flow, it releases dopamine and serotonin. So you're happier and you become slightly more intelligent and creative for the next 5 to 10 minutes after you smile. And we have something called mirror neurons. So if I smile at you, Isaac, you smile.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have literally now just handed you a gift of a little bit better health and a little bit greater mental acuity for a couple of minutes. So the action item for that particular day is smile at 5 people throughout the day. If you do that, you're creating these little nodes of happiness, this positivity that is then going to carry forward to other individuals and other individuals. And so the book is built around that premise of small steps that we can take to step into greatness, as you would say, or achieve excellence. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, well-being is no small thing, but it's made up of small steps. And everyday excellence is a guidebook to help people get a little bit more excellent every single day, because as the diagram on the front shows, over time you get this really cool nonlinear growth curve.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And of course, you're going to give us information on how our audience can get that book for themselves. So the last question I have for you is this. Like I mentioned in the beginning, in our show, we believe that everybody has potential. That means they can step into greatness, and that's the name of our show. Now, for you, what does greatness mean, and why should everyone pursue it?
Greatness is closing the gap between your natural potential and your reality. So let's say that you are 6'8" and just unnaturally athletically gifted. You have this high ceiling. You could literally be LeBron James. And so how do you go from not being able to dribble to being able to dribble to being able to shoot, to close that gap? Let's say that you have natural musical talent. How do you go from being able to just pick up the instrument and maybe make it sound like you're torturing a cat to actually creating the sound of angels? Because you have that potential in you, if you can close that gap, you are unlocking your greatness, and that's going to have an impact on other individuals because they can participate, they can enjoy it, they can be inspired by it, which is something that people don't talk about nearly enough. Joe DiMaggio always said that he gave everything he had on the baseball field every time because there was some kid in that stands that's the only baseball game they were going to see, and he had a moral responsibility to show them his best, to give them greatness. And there are people who ended up playing in the 70s and 80s who watched Joe DiMaggio, and because of that ended up working that hard. There are shortstops now who wear number 2 because of Derek Jeter 25, 30 years ago. So it's the same thing. We have this greatness that we can discover within us, and it can help inspire others out there. And if more people were willing to look inside a little bit more and work a little bit harder, they could see this and they would have a better life, and our entire communities would be much better off for it too.
Absolutely true. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So for those who want to get your book and get in touch with you and see how you can help them, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So the book is available wherever books are sold. So Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all those different places. They can also find it on my website, which is everyday-excellence.com. That's everyday-excellence.com. They can reach me through the website. And I would recommend they go there because 6 days a week I put up a new microblog, so a real quick hit of information and inspiration. There's the YouTube channel. They can also follow me on Facebook or Twitter. Those are both at EDE with Joe. That's at EDE for Everyday Excellence with Joe. That's me. And they can always communicate directly to me on those places.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for coming to the show and looking forward to having you in the future.
Isaac, thank you, my friend. Be excellent and grow today.
Thank you too.
That was Isaac Wamboa, founder of Dynamo Methods. And if what he and his guests talked about sounds like a problem you're having too, stop by dynamomethods.com to find out more. You can book a complimentary 45-minute virtual training for your team. Or you can learn more about group workshops on team leadership, sales, communication, and much more. Don't wait. Let Isaac show you how to step into greatness today.